Okay, so I've had a decent amount of people asking me if they should buy a Disney Galaxy's Edge lightsaber or if they should buy a neopixel. And there's pros and cons to both, so I figured I'd make a video to help you try and decide if you're trying to figure out if you should get a Galaxy's Edge or a neopixel. Starting off with Galaxy's Edge lightsabers, one thing that's really cool about them is they are actually licensed products by Disney. So they are actually based off of the hilts that you would see in the movies or the shows. For instance, this is one of Ahsoka's lightsabers that you would see in Clone Wars, and it's just kind of nice that it is an actual representation of what Ahsoka would have. With this one, you actually did get both her regular one and her Shoto, so that's kind of nice. But most of the neopixel companies don't have officially licensed lightsabers. They have some that are meant to look kind of like this person's lightsaber hilt or this person's lightsaber hilt, but they're not actually modeled after the specific one to the T, whereas the Galaxy's Edge ones are. So that's a good pro for the Galaxy's Edge. Another pro for the Galaxy's Edge is if you want to put the lightsaber blade in here, it is extremely easy. You just go in, you twist it, it locks it in place, and then you can turn it on. It's very fast and very easy to install the hilt on one of these. The neopixel ones, a little bit more work. You do have to put the blade in and then kind of screw it into place. So another pro for the Galaxy's Edge. Okay, with the Galaxy's Edge, you do also get a case that they come in. And I'm going to count this as a pro and a con, because it does come with a cool, nice display case. It's got your two lightsaber hilts in here. Nice little display case. But the cases, they feel kind of cheap. They're not extremely high quality. It rattles, it jiggles, they just don't feel extremely high quality. And to be honest, there's not really that much to look at. Even when you open it up and you can see the hilts in there, it's not that much of a display case. You see the padding for the hilts, and the materials are just kind of cheap, and it kind of has that kind of cheap look to it. So yes, they do come with a display case, but the display case is not extremely high quality, and you can get actual good high quality display cases from Etsy or Amazon for not that much money. So yeah, it does come with a display case, but it's not a super good one, so it's kind of a pro and a con at the same time. It's up for you to decide on that one. Okay, let's talk about quality on the Galaxy's Edge for a little bit, because I got some things to say about the quality on this one. So, let's talk about the price first, because I think that's part of the quality. If you are able to go to one of the parks, if you live close to one of the parks, you have to pay to get into the park. Okay, there's that. And then you have to pay to get one of these. Depending on which one you get, you're gonna be spending a couple $100 on one of these. If you do not live close to one of the parks, you're gonna have to buy one used. And I've almost always seen the used ones going for $100 to $200 more than what they were in the park. Now, if you want one of the desirable models, one that they discontinued, yes ma'am. You're gonna be spending more like $500 to $600 on some of the more desired models. The second I start talking, he feels he has to start talking as well. Anyways, you're gonna be spending $500 to $600 on one of the more desired models if you're not able to get in the park, assuming it's one of the discontinued ones. And honestly, for spending, let's just say $200, if you're able to get one for $200, that price quality, this just doesn't quite feel like a $200 product. There are some parts of the hilt that feel like they are cheap plastic, and other parts that feel like they are not high quality metal, but they feel more metallic, they have a little bit of weight to them. But then other parts just feel really, really cheap and toy-ish. And if this was something that you're spending $80, $90 on, I'd say, all right, that's not bad quality. $80, $90, physically what it feels like an $80, $90 product. A couple $100, or assuming you have to spend used retail or used market value prices, $300, $400, $500, this just doesn't quite compare to that quality. Yeah. However, with the neopixel, the quality of the hilt alone, I'm not even talking about the internals, the electronics, or the blade or anything, just the quality of the hilt feels like what you would expect a lightsaber to feel like. This is by Saber Trio. This is a $600 hilt, and this feels like I got a $600 hilt. This feels like I actually have what a lightsaber would actually feel like. It's got the right look, it's got the right feel, it feels like a solid chunk of metal, it has a substantial weight to it. This feels like, hypothetically, if an actual lightsaber was to come out here, I could duel with this in an actual lightsaber fight, and this is what the hilt would feel like. Now, what if you don't want to spend $600? Because One of the pros about the Galaxy's Edge is that they are cheaper. This is an Imperial Workshop hilt, neopixel. It's gonna have the same light quality and sound quality that my Saber Trio is going to have, but it's significantly cheaper than the Saber Trio. This is $170. They even have one that's $160 if you want to save a little bit more money. But even at $170, that's still cheaper than a Galaxy's Edge lightsaber. The hilt doesn't quite feel as high quality as my Saber Trio, but it is made out of metal. It does feel rugged. I feel like if I dropped it, I wouldn't really be worried about it breaking. And it feels significantly better than my Galaxy's Edge lightsaber hilt. And it's cheaper. So you don't necessarily need to spend more money than a Galaxy's Edge to get a better feeling hilt. But let's talk about the lights and the blades and the sounds from both of these. Okay, so I already mentioned that putting in the blade on one of these, on the Galaxy's Edge ones, super easy. You literally just put the blade in, you spin it, that locks it in place, and then you can turn it on. It's super easy to do that. However, you notice how the sound is a little off? When I swing it, there's a big delay when the sound actually happens, like right there, that was like a 2-second delay, and it's going by itself right now. And the sound doesn't match the movement. Let me get a little bit closer so you can hear better. It's almost like they have like a couple different random sounds and it just pulls from one of those sounds randomly when you move it. So it doesn't really match the movement or the feeling of what you're actually doing. That's just the sound. These also only have one sound font. I don't think they're even called sound fonts for these ones, but they only have one sound font for this color. This one does have 2 colors, which most of the Galaxy's Edge ones only have 1 color. This one actually has 2 because in the Clone Wars, Ahsoka had 2 different colors throughout the course of the show. If you want to change the color on this one, there's a button back here that you hold it, and then it'll change the color. Now we have a different sound font for this one. It sounds a little bit different now, but same thing. The sound has a massive delay between when you move it and when it actually triggers the swinging sound. And the swinging sound doesn't really match what the motion is. It just feels disconnected. It's like when you're playing a video game and there's lag and you move your character and then like a second later then the character moves. It's kind of what swinging one of these feels like. Sometimes it's right on and other times it's not there at all, and sometimes it's just massively delayed. Let's talk about the color on the Galaxy's Edge ones now. They come with 1 color. This one has 2. It's the only one that I'm aware of that has the ability to change colors, but that's it. Green and blue, and that's it. They have 1 sound font for each color, and you can't change it, and that's the only color you want. So if you want this saber, but you want it in red, you're not gonna be able to get that. If you want it in a different shade of blue or white or whatever, you're not gonna get it, unfortunately. And it's not that bright. If I'm being honest, it looks cool when it's at nighttime and it's really, really dark and you turn this on. It works, gives a lightsaber effect. But being completely honest, it's not that bright. The sound and the color on this one. Sound, color, and brightness, I should say. You got that color, or blue if you want, that level of sound and that delay in the swing, and that level of brightness. You get a neopixel on the other hand. Whether you get an expensive neopixel or a cheaper neopixel, it's going to be more like this.
Our guests have arrived.
Significantly brighter. You have a much bigger range in colors. And the sound. The sound actually matches your movement. And it actually sounds like a lightsaber should sound when you're swinging it, so it gives a much more immersive and real feel. But colors. On a Saber Trio, for instance, it's super easy. On the Imperial Workshop, it's also super easy. It's a little different method, but it's super easy. To change the colors on these, let me show you just how easy it is to change the color.
Spectrum.
2 buttons, you press both of them, and then you rotate it. Pick whatever color you want. It is that easy. And you hold the button again, you've selected it. And there are different sounds as well. And it's super easy to change the sound on one of these as well. When the blade is off, one of the two buttons that you press to change the color, you just press and hold down for a moment.
Sound bank selection.
This is General Kenobi.
And then you can choose between different sound banks by pressing these two different buttons. One is down, one is up.
This is General Kenobi. Ancient prophecies.
And then once you find one that you like, you just press the ignition button and you hold it for a moment. And it selects that one. Most of them have like a little song that kind of like goes along with it when you've selected it. But now when I turn it on, not only does it have a different sound, it had a special ignition, which some of them have special ignitions. It's got a different sound font. And when I swing it, it's got a different tone. It's much gnarlier, much meaner than the Obi-Wan Kenobi one. But that's how changing the sound works on this. On every one of them, you can change the color to whatever color you want. Every sound, you can change to whatever sound you want. Whereas on one of the Galaxy's Edge ones, you have whatever it's programmed with, which is usually one sound font and one color. The Ahsoka one has 2 sound fonts and 2 colors, and I think that's the only one that I'm aware of that has the ability to change colors. I could be wrong on that. I haven't gone through every single one of the Galaxy's Edge lightsabers, but you are much more limited. Whereas with this one, again, let's just change it really quick.
Sound bank selection.
Ancient prophecies.
Let's just find another one really quick to give you an idea.
Crystal focus.
Crystal focus, let's see what that is. Another different sound with a different color. This one's a little bit more of a pulse to it as well, as just as opposed to a solid color. This one's also got gesture controls when I rotate it. As far as I'm concerned, all the neopixels I've seen have gesture controls. I'm sure there's probably some that don't. Most neopixels have gesture controls, so when I spin it, it will turn it on or turn it off, for instance. There's just so much more that you can do with the neopixel. And yes, this is my saber trio. This is my favorite one currently, which is why I'm using this one at the moment. It's a bit more money. It's about 600 bucks. You can get one of the Imperial Workshop ones for about 170. This is one of the 170 Imperial Workshop ones. It has different sound fonts, but it still has a bunch of sound fonts, and you can actually change and update and load different sound fonts onto this. Connected to computer, and then it's endless with what you can actually customize this to sound like and look like, and etc. So, Galaxy's Edge, massive delay, not that bright, not that loud, neopixel. Do I really have to say what the clear winner is? Also, this is the middle of the day, and this thing is still bright. It is that bright even in the day. The Galaxy's Edge ones, if you're playing with them at nighttime, you're gonna have a lightsaber look and visual aesthetic to it. Daytime though, it looks like a piece of plastic that is glowing a little bit with the color. Indoors, it's a little bit better, but still. NeoPixel, even outside in the middle of the day, yeah, it's not as good as at night, obviously, but it still looks like a lightsaber. So, I don't want to sound like I'm just hating on the Galaxy's Edge ones. Even though I do think that the NeoPixel is better, there is something really cool about the officially licensed aspect of this is Ahsoka's lightsaber. There are some other people that make an Ahsoka style lightsaber or an Obi-Wan Kenobi style lightsaber, but they're a little bit different, they're not officially licensed, etc. That's kind of cool that this one is exactly how Ahsoka's would be. Taking out the blade on one of these is extremely cool and convenient. You literally just put the blade in, spin it, that's it. Pull it out, that's it. It's that easy. Whereas on one of the NeoPixel ones, you actually do have to set it in place. You have to get an Allen key and screw it in a little bit. It's not a lot of work, but it is much more work than doing that. But then once you actually have this on, you kind of feel like you're losing a little bit of something. Like I said, at nighttime, it looks better, but the sound is very quiet. It's very delayed. It's like playing a video game with lag. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like playing a video game with lag. And they're not that cheap. like I said earlier, if this was like 80 or 90 bucks, I would say this is a great buy. But at spending a couple $100, if you even can, if you live close to a park or you're able to find one online somewhere close to you that you can buy, a couple $100. Or you can buy an Imperial Workshop for 170, or even they have one that's 160. I'm gonna go neopixel. That's really all that I can pick. So yeah, neopixel. I'm gonna pick neopixel every time. It just wins. Sorry. If you are on the fence between going with the Galaxy's Edge or neopixel, hopefully I gave you some more information today to help you try and make up your mind. I don't think that the Galaxy's Edge ones are terrible. I think that they do serve a good purpose. They have a certain cool factor just because they are officially licensed like replicas of what you see in the movies and shows. But when it just comes down to what you're getting for what you're paying for, a neopixel, whether an expensive one or a cheaper one, is gonna win every time. So hopefully I helped you plan your next purchase. With that being said, I'll catch you next time.